So welcome to our discussion on work for hire. I am Ravi Krishna, General Manager at Zynga. Let's start with a round of quick introductions.
Hi guys, very brave individuals I see early in the morning. Thank you for filling our seats. We appreciate it very much. My name is Arjun Agnihotri. I am Director of Business Development for Lakshya Digital. Lakshya's India's largest content creation company doing art, animation, VFX for the global video games industry. And we are all over the place. We've got 7 studios in 3 in India. We've got 1 in Philippines, our new studio in Bangalore as well. We've got 1 in the US, we've got 1 in UK, and we've got 1 in Japan. So very excited to be part of this panel and looking forward to speaking to my peers here. I'll pass it on.
Good morning, everyone. Sameer from Red Apple Technologies. I'm a VP Sales and Partnership for Red Apple. Red Apple is one of the work-for-hire studios in operation since 2011. So we do a lot of 2D, 3D art content creation for gaming companies, across the globe. And apart from that, we have Unity and HTML5 game developers in-house. We have a strong backend team when it comes to multiplayer games. And we do the deployment and then testing, end-to-end game development for our clients. And we have been helping some enterprise clients in terms of AR and VR trainings and some applications and some games as well. So this is what we have been doing since 2011. We've grown to 150 people now. We have offices in Kolkata, Delhi, so a couple of offices in Kolkata and 1 in Delhi. And we continue to grow based on our clients like support. Thank you.
Hey guys, I'm Ravi. I'm the VP of Product at Pole2Win. So Pole2Win is a 30-year-old Japanese firm. We currently have around 43 studios across the globe with around 7,000 employees. We offer end-to-end game services from audio, art, like QA, LQA, CX, everything across all platforms, across all genres. And that's about us.
Thank you, everyone. My name is Milind Shinde. I'm a founder and CEO for a company called 88 Pictures. We are one of the largest and one of the premium animation studio in the country. We do animation and VFX for some of the marquee clients. We're based out of Mumbai, Hyderabad, Bangalore, and Toronto. We are an 800 people team. With our expertise in storytelling and creating some of the highest computer graphics content, we wanted to extend our services into games. We have an incubated approach with a company called 88 Games, and our focus is into creating PC and console game. We are in development for our first game, which will be ready soon, and the second largest AAA title. Happy to be part of, first time at IGDC and this ecosystem, and knowing this wonderful people and you all. Thank you.
Thank you everyone for the introductions. Great to see some audience building up. I'm sure many of you are industry professionals, many of you are looking to grow your careers in the industry. One thing I must say for the folks who are starting in the industry, work-for-hire companies are a great place to start their career. That's where most of us have learned the chops of the job and grown from there. And for the people who are trying to build their career or young people, again, I think it's going to be a very, very relevant discussion where we are going to talk about not only what the industry does, but how to be part of the industry, how to learn there, how to get hired into that. So expecting to be a very, very exciting panel. So starting with Arjun, we can go around and just double click on what exactly is work for hire, why we call it work for hire, and the business model, how does it really help scale other companies?
Well, you're absolutely right. Work-for-hire companies are essentially the backbone of a lot of game development studios across the world. It takes anywhere from, if you take Western studios, at least AAA games, it used to take almost half a decade ago, anywhere from $50 to $100 million to make a game. And today, it takes almost $150 to $300 to make a AAA game. It's very difficult for game development companies to scale to be able to create the content that they need for their games. It's very difficult to hire. It's very difficult to meet the bell curve. So when you're creating a game, you've got your design phase, and then when you enter production, for example, it's a huge bell curve. It's very difficult to hire for that. So our job is to come in and help these guys actually make a quality game with the content that they need, within the art styles, the quality requirements, and the budget that they need for the game. Outsourcing, unfortunately, used to be a very hush-hush thing, right? Nowadays, it's become a lot more accepted. People are starting to recognize it for what it is, and it essentially really is the backbone of game development. So that's what work for hire is. What we do at Lakshya is a lot of art creation, a lot of animation, some amount of VFX. So that is really about coming in and helping the companies make their characters, make their environments, do some world building, create the effects for the game that otherwise, if a company is not able to, their game is just not going to be exciting enough. So that's really the gap that we fill. How do game companies make the game that they want within the budget that they have and make it to the quality that they need it to be able to sell well, to be able to be recognizable enough in the market, right? So that's where we come in. That's how we help. That's my answer.
Yeah. Would love to hear a few more point of views on this.
So work for hire for us, meaning it's not limited to artwork only. We do almost like end-to-end games development. So sometimes we even like start with the game pitch itself. So we help refine the ideas because being a services company, we get so diversified experience. We have a lot of learning for each project we do with our clients. And then we get a client, they just have the game pitch, and then we share our experience with them that how we have made other games successful our clients. Starting from art, we do the mood boarding, and then we help them define the game mechanics. If the game loop is not proper, we help them with our prior experience, like how we can assist them, and also kind of brainstorm and become kind of an equal partner in terms of making the game successful. So this is what the contribution is done by work for hire teams. And especially people who are working with work for hire teams, they can learn a lot within a short period of time. Reason, it's a fast-paced environment, and you have to, meaning follow the passion of people who are trying to build games, and then you have to imbibe yourself quickly, and then become one of them. So this is what my experience and my team's experience as a work for hire studio. Thank you.
Yeah, so I mean, just adding on to what Arjun and Sameer had to say, the opportunities that you get while working for a work for hire studio, which opens a lot of doors for you in the long run. Like you get to work on a lot of AAA titles straight from day one. Like for example, currently we are working at the Hyderabad studio itself. You're working on GTA 5. We work on Call of Duty, like God of War, right? And getting the opportunity to work on these titles, like at another Indian dev studio, might be very challenging, or at the scale of games that we're working on. So that's just an additional thing. And down the line, like say you work here for 3-4 years, the experience that you gain is very diverse. You get to work on multiple genres across all platforms and stuff. So it's some experience which you might not be able to get working at a product studio because they're limited to working on like one style of games and stuff like that.
Thanks, Ravi. Milind, do you want to add something?
Yeah, sure. I think ours is a little bit different story. So as a predominantly business model, we are a work-for-hire studio for what we do as a main business in animation. And while gaming is a product play for us, but I see we are only going to use our expertise of storytelling and game engineering. But there's a lot of work-for-hire aspect exists for us, which is very synergy of working with people who bring certain skill set where we don't necessarily need to develop a lot of skill set. And we are at a stage where we are exploring this. While we are not doing a work for hire module for game, essentially doing outsource work, but we will have to partner with a lot of people to use this work for hire module.
Thanks, Milind. So as you can see, right, the work for hire model is very extensive. It's not limited to one function or one thing. And also, just to summarize what everybody said, right? If you are working in a product company, maybe you are working on one game, but you are working on work for hire, maybe you get a chance to work on Forza Horizon or Forza 5 or Forza 6. You never know, right, what comes your way. But most of the people who have got the experience of working on these marquee titles, I think started somewhere getting exposed to the AAA quality in one of these studios and grew from there. So I think that's like another aspect that I would love to highlight.
I mean, to add to that, absolutely. If you're an artist, for example, and you're just coming out of the industry, coming out of your school or your training, what you want to do is hone your skills and work on as many titles as you can. If you're working for a game developer, one of the things that will get you a little bit stuck is that you will probably be ending up working for that game for about anywhere from 2 to 3 years. And if you're working for, let's say, an art company, you're probably going to be working on 3 or 4 different pipelines within the next couple of years, working on, some of the really major AAA titles out there. And that's actually been one of the biggest retentions that we've seen as well, because you do end up seeing so many pipelines that it's very easy for you to become a very versatile player in the industry. Right?
Exactly. And let's look at the industry from a slightly different lens now. Let's look at from the client's lens. So one thing I have seen, right, generally there is a gaming company, it starts with like 5, 6 people, get some quick success or a sudden success, sees the exponential growth curve, or gets funding, a decent amount of funding, and they have to like really scale their teams, right? And that's where most of the companies will go after one of the work for hire studios to figure out how to scale. I think one of the first questions they have, where to start, which functions to start working with work for hire studios first, and then gradually how to go into next set of functions, because there is always a little bit of a scare, right? It's your baby and it's suddenly going out and you are partnering with something else. So maybe this time we can start with Samir and go around the table.
Yep. Based on our experience, of course, we get a lot of requests, meaning sometimes like end-to-end, or sometimes it is for specific things. Based on our learnings, I would like to share my thoughts on like what to be shared by a client with work for hire and what not to be shared based on our experience. Most important thing, first thing is do not, meaning give equity. That's what I feel. And apart from that, the game designing and the core USP or the secret sauce of the game should actually come from someone who's building the game. And then, I mean, like the game designing should be taken care by client itself, and the art asset creation can be outsourced, the game development can be outsourced, and all the, let's say if that game requires some community development to be done. So it should be done by the client. That should not be passed on to the work for hire because that's the core thing, that's the long-term strategy you're looking for the game. Work for hire studios can actually align with your art stylization and then help you build those assets, and you can continue to focus on your long-term ideas and then creating that niche for your game, and then the proper game design and what kind of art stylization you should always be there, and like what is your marketing strategy, that should actually come from the client. That's what we have learned. And of course, the most important thing, when we work with multiple clients at one go as a work for service, there is always priority 1, priority 2, priority 3, based on how much passion that particular client is bringing in. Because team working under that client would follow the same passion. If we do not get that drive or the passion from the person who's trying to build the game, the same enthu actually gets to the team as well. So it's very important. You should be completely sure what you're trying to achieve, and then you should show that passion, talk about it every time when you talk to the team. Only then that drive comes into the work for hire teams as well. So that's very, very important.
Thanks, Samir.
Yeah. Yeah, so adding on to what, I mean, the question which Ravi asked, right? I mean, if you're an indie studio of, let's say, like you're a 6 to 10 man team and you've seen success and you suddenly have a huge influx of users, the most critical thing at that point becomes is to manage your community efficiently. And how do you take care of your community? Now, being a 10 man team after success, your primarily focus is to figuring out live ops, right? And what to add next to the game. So for community management is something you're obviously going to look to hire people externally, and that's something beneficiary for you guys because since that's not your will be your core skill set, external teams like us can support you. The other thing is internally figuring out what your core skill set is and what skill sets you're lacking. Your core skill sets, like I believe that should always be within the core team. I mean, you might be a dev heavy team or an art heavy team, right? Or your team might just be very good at audio. And then instead of growing your team and trying to skill up people from scratch, you'd rather go to a work for hire studio to get those specific aspects done.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I don't think I will have much to add to this question because
Milind, Arjun, you want
Yeah, I mean, this is a question that we've actually discussed with many clients of ours. And Ravi is from a development firm, so I need to be very careful about how I answer. But for those who haven't seen the External Development Summit or heard about that summit, they have some really good articles and material about all of this. And if you look through that, if you're a game developer, what you end up actually outsourcing is a lot of what comes after your game design. A core of art creation, your hero characters and your hero assets are generally kept at the company, but anything and everything can be outsourced. We are no longer at a stage where there is anything that cannot be outsourced. It's really about how comfortable your client, your game developer is. That is really got to be the core question. And we are trying to do away completely to not be just an outsourcing studio. What we want to do is you want to be a partner. So you want to come in at a very early stage and actually work with your client to develop what they can and cannot outsource, how they can and cannot send work. That's really the main thing. And how your clients set themselves up makes a big difference. So you need to have your open conversations about, how open are they to send out some stuff that is out of the ordinary, right? Absolutely. Game programming is more and more outsourced, right? Core design is something that game developers are recognizing that they may not have the strengths and they might need to go outside of their companies to interact with people who've been doing this for a very long time. Lakshya's been there, for example, for 19 years now. We've worked across so many different kinds of games that it would be very foolish for somebody who's a new developer to come in and not take that expertise. And I think that is the answer in my head, right? How do you work together if you're a new company? Make use of the expertise that's there around you and have your management structure around all of that.
Yeah, I completely agree, Arjun. I mean, the whole work for hire industry is a great set of partners available to any company or a startup in need. And like coming from the product development side, I feel that as you are growing, you generally have a decent idea of what are the core skills that you have, right? Things that made you successful, but there you don't need to increase headcount as your user base grows. But then there are certain things like community, art, so many other things, right, where you have to increase headcount as the number of users is growing. And that could be one of the first things to start with, but after that it's limitless because as you work as a partner, you build that trust, you get to know the people that you are working with, and with that time you figure out, right, what are your strengths, what are their strengths. It's about finding that complementary fit rather than thinking about
Absolutely.
outsourcing kind of mindset.
Absolutely.
And once you find that complementary fit, right, a lot of that becomes easy. But take your time, but it's limitless is what I feel at this point. So from client side, I think another related question is that of quality. Like somebody who is getting a work for hire studio for the first time, definitely thinks that, how would we maintain the quality working together? And I think, I'm sure from the work for hire studio side also, there are a lot of effort goes in ensuring that the quality remains same or gets a notch higher based on their earlier experiences. So maybe we can start with Ravi this time and go around the room. Like, how do we ensure that?
Yeah, I think the most important thing to start off would be is to set up an open communication channel between the client and their vendors, and then try to build a collaborative network between the two parties, right? And which will ensure that trust is built between both of them. Post that, it's like identifying key milestones and a deliverable schedule with proper quality checks in place. Like for us at Pole to Win, I mean, we have like a 99% retention rate of clients for over the past 20 years plus. And that's because even though we are vendors, we like to think of like our clients as like we consider ourselves to be like their extended development wing. And so we get very involved into the project. We try to work with them, get a good understanding what they're doing as well. And keeping communication very open, keeping it very flexible, is what has helped us a lot, and making sure quality is always there, clients are satisfied what they need.
Have to get a few more point of views on this.
Do you want to go?
All right. So I think rightly said, Ravi, very important, like we establish that channel and then have a clear pipeline defined, starting with very scratch when it comes to like artwork specifically. Starting with the initial sketch and taking an opinion on a regular basis, and if it is going in right direction, not going in right direction, so that we do not lose time and ensure we are aligned with the expectation. And what happens is when you're onboarding a new client, this becomes a little bit of a meaning, a lot of iterations happens, but once you have understood, once you have that wavelength, it becomes quite easy. Even like we have a very good success rate when it comes to like retaining the clients, because people who have worked with Red Apple, been there for almost like average, I would say like 4 years or so. And we have some clients like where we have done almost 100 plus titles for them, meaning small games, I would say.
I mean, not much more to add than what's already been said, but if you're a new studio that's going into work for hire, maybe that's an area that I can shed some light on. It's, again, very important to talk to your clients. They will tell you what is important for them. They will tell you what quality should look for them and how it looks for them. And it's your job then to translate what they've said into a checklist and set up your review structures to make sure that you are giving an output that the client has already defined for you. So it's about conversation. It's about having an open line of communication, and also identifying that your client is providing that information. So start up correctly and put the right resources in place. Have your leads look at the art or animation or whatever it is that you're sending out. Look at your pipelines, make sure that you're providing time for quality assurance for yourself and for the client, and things should fairly easily fall into place if you've set yourself for success on both sides at that point. That's the only addition that I can make.
Milind, do you want to add something?
Sure, I can add a generic perspective in this because we are on other business, we are into this, and now also for games, we are partnered with a couple of people where we are working on this. So I think one of the basic questions we ask working with any clients is, A, what are they doing, why are they doing, and what is in it for them? And then the question we ask, what is in it for us? I think the first thing goes with, every product is different, and every product has certain basic criteria that they are looking for. Sometimes it's a quality, sometimes it's about budget, sometimes it's about time. And you have to really find, but every one common line among any project that you do is the quality. The director or the people have a vision behind that. So, you have to spend time in understanding what are the top 3 things, because it's not possible when you're in a work for hire situation to give everything. But what are the top 3 things that your client wants? And once you understand that, once you get completely in their head, then it becomes a journey, and then it's always a fight about doing it in the time, in the cost. And now when we are trying to work with a couple of partners, it is the journey for us is to make them understand why are we doing this, and why is this particular game important for us, and what is the philosophy gone behind that. And once we get there, so it's a lot of partnership approach, though it's called a work for hire or outsource kind of a thing, but Sometime you call a vendor, sometime you call outsource partner. But it's a really collaborative partnership approach that we do. When we are client, we do that. When we are outsource partner, we try to do that. Most of the times you're successful. When you're not, you learn and then you use that in the next one.
Thanks, Milind.
Thank you.
I definitely echo the sentiment. From the client side, working from the product company, I think one thing I have learned over time through many of these interactions is uh, if you are from the client side, put your most senior people to handle the interaction. Lot of time people think it's just a scaling thing and a bunch of people working there will put a junior producer or somebody new into the industry or the company over there. I think that's when the things go south. The person from the client side has to be very senior, has to understand the culture and the needs from the client side, because finally he becomes ambassador and the partner for the work for hire company. That's where the work for hire company gets the clue exactly what clients wants, right? And these are complicated situations. It goes beyond the spec or the delivery, right? How you want to deliver, what timing, timelines, what kind of thought process, especially in art. I mean, it's very difficult to just describe it in word what you want, right? There has to be that level of sync between the two parties to get that quality. So, I mean, my advice, in addition to all the esteemed panelists have said, is to push a very senior person from the client side to interact with the companies, and then the interaction will be very smooth. Now moving to the other thing, I think we alluded to that in the beginning, right? That as the work for hire companies work, they build different skill sets. They get the art skill set, animation skill set, coding, everything builds in, right? And with that, companies are launching new business lines, and some of them are diverging into building high quality games as well, starting from this industry, using that all expertise and getting into product space. But it's not just the games. I think people are figuring out different ways to diversify and grow their business based on the experience they're getting from running these organizations. So maybe we can start with Milind and talk about how companies can diversify into either product company or launch other kind of lines of businesses.
Sure. I think I'll use the word called extension of skill set, because when you are as an entrepreneur, you have an urge to diversify, do everything, and when you do everything, it comes at a certain cost. What for us is, we are a storytelling animation company with a really high technical stack, and we create some of the highest CG complex product. Now, how do we take that storytelling and CG ability to the next level and extend our skill set into something such as game? Because I am a firm believer that everything is going to be gamified. I think it's the content on the entertainment is going to be it's the gamification of entertainment is the future. So you have to be on the right side of that. So what somebody like us is doing is we are extending that into creating storytelling a product and adding something called as a game engineering aspect, which is a very, very unique. You can't just simply replicate. So the diversification is a very difficult journey. But if you just simply extend and say, this is what I know and this is what I don't know. In our case, what we are trying to do is we added a game engineering stack into that, and we are creating a product. Full disclosure, we have no clue how to publish the product. Right now, we have a product which we have shown it to a lot of people. Everybody's happy, excited, but I have no clue how to publish it. I don't have a go-to-market strategy. I don't know how the consumer reacts. Now, those are the skill set we will have to acquire, partner, or do a partnership or a work-for-hire approach where somebody in the market or people like here has that skill set, and how do we partner with them and rely on them and then get into there. And hence, then that extension of business is going to be successful. Otherwise, if you're going to completely acquire the skill set, which a lot of companies have over the years built it, then it's an uphill task. And then you're just asking for too much unless you have a big war chest sitting out there and you can start building a multi-business empire. But my personal thing is, I know what I know and I don't know what I don't know. So I'm going to rely on somebody who knows it best, and then use that partnership approach, because there's enough pie in the market and this is not the first game, not the last game. And that's how we can grow this business together.
Thanks, Milind.
Thank you.
Any thoughts about how the companies can extend into adjacent areas, or any thoughts anybody has?
I mean, it's really about what you want to do as a company. There are definitely opportunities in adjacent markets, and the good thing about Lakshya is that we're part of Keywords, and Keywords is this huge organization with more than 12,000, I think, people at this point of time. So we don't have to worry too much about focus all our efforts into figuring out, what we want to do besides what we are already doing, because we have that support as well. But I think in general, it's always a good idea to keep in mind what kind of adjacent markets are available and work on the in parallel to see if you want to be part and can be part of those adjacent markets, because you really don't know what the industry will bring. The gaming industry is very volatile, and you have to be a large player to be not impacted with the roller coaster rides that sometimes the industry goes through. That's the only input that I have. We are not looking to go into products at this point of time. So,
Sure. Thanks, Arjun.
Nothing from my end.
So we can move on. I think also, I think it's important to talk about the industry cycles, especially at this point. The situation in the industry, is there any impact on the work for hire industry, and how companies are handling it or mitigating it? So yeah, Arjun, maybe you can start with. And
sure. You're absolutely right. I mean, to provide context as to what's happening this year, as of probably yesterday, we had Cryptic Studios, Bungie, Sony, a lot of companies in the West. More than 18, 20 companies have let go probably a total of 6,000 plus people in the gaming industry. So it is a fairly rough time. But what we're seeing is that there is certainly an impact when you are on this side of the fence, but that impact is limited. I think what we're seeing is a few game cancellations, a few delays, but what is important, and to put everything into context, what's important is that we're seeing a lot of business come back. We're seeing that the game development companies still will need to make the games that they've been making. The market isn't going anywhere. The market is still increasing. So where is all of this work going to be done? There are a lot of people that have been laid off, but the games still need to go. They still need to be produced. They still need to be developed. What we're seeing is probably there's going to be an uptick in outsourcing. You just have to be patient. You just have to make sure that you are aligning your expectations. So there is a certain amount of impact, but on our side of the fence, for us at least, it hasn't been as bad as it has been for the game studios, who are really seeing a lot of impact. But it's coming back. It goes in cycles. Like I said, it certainly isn't going anywhere.
Yeah, just to add on to what Arjun said, right? Even at Poldwin, what we've seen is this year has not been as good as the other years, but we also feel like starting from maybe Q2 of next year, things will bounce back. But at the same time, in the gaming industry, there's new opportunities that have opened where, like, in regards to VFX, and then there's a bunch of AI opportunities that have been coming up. And these are things we've been exploring. And so it hasn't hit us as hard as, like, the product companies, similar to what we were talking about earlier. So it's not as bad for us right now. And we really believe that Q2 of next year, things will start picking up and things will start normalizing across the gaming world.
I think the impact is definitely there from almost like 6 months now, being a gaming studio. A lot of RMG, meaning things which we were working on, it definitely got a hit on that. So what we are trying to do right now is like we are trying to utilize time in building up our own portfolio in a better way. And also there has been demand for switching those RMG to a different monetization model. So we are even building some games in-house based on our experiential learning from services. So this is how we are able to sustain and retain our real money gaming clients by providing them by going ahead and giving extra mile from our end, like supporting them, because it's a tough time for them who have been handling this. There's a lot of burning going on right now. So we are also extended our help and like provided some additional teams to kind of support that switching of those platforms. So this is how we've been supporting our clients.
Thanks, Samir.
So, there has been a general slowdown across, whether it is games or a general entertainment category, whether it is game, live action, visual effects, animation, and there's a general global sentiment. But the way we are a country and hungry consuming population, the content needs to be created, game needs to be created. But there is this general cautious approach, and these are generally governed by top five, top eight players and Western sensibilities. But when you come to especially India as a gaming market, I think it's a very very opportunate time. But because it get governed largely by a lot of Western forces, some of the impacts are, some of the business have impacted, but if you have a strong business module and your portfolio diverted, I think the key people still continue to create content such as games. But I think I agree with his point is that I think it's a time when the business tailwinds are not that great, is to go back and relook at your business plan, relook at your tech stack, and also create certain prototypes, certain games or certain ideas, and just be ready when the market is going to see an upswing. I think it's still probably a couple of quarters away by the time we'll see an impact. I see the little bit slowdown is going to be there for next 2 quarters, and things will start improving. But that when you do that, whether you're in a work for hire space or in a product space, I think how do you have the differentials to be ahead of the game, ahead of the competition is what going to define successes of the companies.
Thanks, Milind. And yeah, so if you are a work for hire studio or part of that, going by Cricket World Cup analogy, you have to be the Rahul Dravid for next 6 to 8 months. Just stay on the crease, just take the bouncers and stay there, things are going to change pretty soon. Now, trying to circle back from where we started, right? For the students and the people who want to build a career in the industry, in the gaming industry. Let's shed some light on what kind of folks does work for hire industry hire, what kind of things you are looking for, what colleges, degrees, just give them the details so that somebody who really cares about starting in gaming industry know what to do and where to go. So yeah, Ravi, maybe you can start and you can go ahead.
So for us in India currently, majority of our team is either QA or CX. And for anyone to enter the QA or customer support field, we're not really looking at a specific educational background, right? We are fine. We accept people even if they've completed their set 10th or 12th or anything like that. You come in, we have a simple 2-3 interview round process. You get through that. And then we provide internal training certification, which is a 3-month program. And once that's done, we get you on roll. So for QA and CX, the entry barrier is relatively very easy. But if you want to join in as an artist or a developer or something to do with game design or production, then the entry barrier becomes a little more challenging. Again, at Pole to Win, we don't really look at like a specific educational degree. It's more about we look at your portfolio and what you've done to earn your place. And that's primarily what we do at Pole to Win.
Thanks, Ravi. Any other? Yeah.
For us, we have our own training academies. It's not my stream to be involved in hiring, so I don't have a lot of information, but we do have a booth. We do have the experts here, I think, for all of us. So if you have any questions, grab the people that are in our booth and don't let them go home until they've answered all your questions. But for keywords, we hire pretty much everybody, right? We have engineering, we have FQA, we have LQA, we have art, we have animation, we have VFX. So there's a lot of stuff that's going on, and the experts can help you answer some of those questions.
Sure.
Of course, like hiring at Red Apple also goes through, we have a learning wing, we have a training institute lined up, like we have Red Apple Learning, where we help fresh graduates come and learn about art, animation, and even like game development. So we also have a booth like E63 and 64 placed here. So if you are interested in like learning more about it, we have a representative who can help you, like how do we take people.
Thanks, Samir.
Yeah, we also have a training approach because I think the students of today are going to shape up the future for us. But what happens is a lot of training institutes makes them teach a very generalized approach. So what goes to a studio like us or any work for hire studio is to create like a finishing approach, because while you're taught as a completely generalized approach, but when you land up in a studio working atmosphere, you actually need to have a specialized skill. Either you're in art, or you're in game engineering, or you're an animator, or you're a VFX artist. Now, that is very important. So what we try to do is create that approach where we take a finishing approach and we teach specific skills. Because a lot of students wants to do everything and they want to have their hands at all the aspect of a game creation. But in reality, that doesn't happen because it takes a lot of time to acquire those skill set. And unfortunately, such students are misguided and they don't create the great resource for tomorrow. So the goal for us is, and advice we also give is to take one area, really master it, focus it, and take it to a level, and then go to the next area. And that's what we try to do as a studio. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Milind. I think it's a very, very comprehensive overview. And if you are a student, I think you got really good information here, especially all of our panelists have said that they have some way of training people. If you are starting young, fresh out of college, or maybe a year or two of experience, I think that is a great place to approach the respective booths or write to our panelists. This is the great way to enter the industry. All the training is available, opportunities are available, and you can work on AAA stuff as well. So in that sense, it's a great place to start. So with that, I would like to conclude the panel. I think we had a very fruitful discussion today. We have time for maybe one question. So yeah, if anybody has a question, please raise your hand. Yeah, can somebody please give me my mic?
Hello. Thank you for the panel. It's excellent, very interesting. I want to know if you can share, based on your experience and your knowledge of the market, the risks that can put in jeopardy this kind of business, problems that can really have a hit on a company if they are not taking care.
I think it's asking about the risks.
The risks of this business. Maybe there are situations that can put in jeopardy the company if they are not taken care of or thought in advance.
I mean, the risk of the company is there's like any company, you have a bunch of risks that you have to take care of. But I think the risks are a lot more for somebody who's starting out. You're a small company. The larger you get in this business, the more stable you are, like probably in any business. But if you're a small company and you have a game cancellation, or some of your leads or your main artists are hired by another firm, those are all very, very huge risks. All it takes is one game cancellation if you're a studio of about 20, 30 people, for that entire 20, 30 people to be impacted. So I guess one way to mitigate that risk is to make sure that you have enough financial support to be able to go through any of those risks and carry them out. And then obviously, if you've got to take care of your people. If it's very easy in this business to get pounded by your clients and just output, right? So it's important to make sure that you're taking care of your people as well, and there's a balance there. So that's a risk, because if you're not taking care of your people, then you're going to lose them. That's just a few of the risks. The larger you are, the easier it is. Stick the course. That's really it.
I can actually give one quick answer to this. So, the way to look at is, if you're in any business, right? Any business, let's say now in the gaming business. So the market exists, and the certain needs of the market exist. As a business plan or as a company, if you create a niche for yourself and just become a solution to the answer that market is looking for, then I think your business can stay relevant. And of course, then it needs to have a strong business plan and also certain financial visibility, because it's a capital consuming business. and you also have to stay for long. But if the need exists somewhere, then your business can definitely survive if you just offer the right combination.
Being a services company, it's very important to adapt to the changes happening in the industry. Otherwise, you cannot continue to the way you started. You cannot continue like that. A very good example I can take is like we've been working on Unity. So looking at the current situation, a lot of Unreal demand is coming. Like we cannot limit ourselves to Unity also. So we are thinking about cross-training and even in HTML5, there has been different expectations from the clients. So we do a lot of cross trainings internally to ensure we cope up with the changes. Otherwise, it's very difficult to kind of sustain and then continue to get same kind of business. And that ways you can keep your employees also motivated, so they stick around and they get to learn new skills, and then they work with some new clients. So it's always challenging. If there is no challenge as an employee or an employer, there is no growth. So that is one of the funders we have been following, and it's really working well for us.
Yeah. So, I mean, being in the work for hire for games, right? For us, across any line of business that you see, you're always playing the time and money game. It's just trying to identify the right balance, because every client is unique, every project is unique, and how do you identify the time and money gap, and then figuring that out is what has been successful for us.
Thank you very much.
So with that, I would say we had a great discussion. Hopefully everybody in the audience found something useful and interesting over there. And with that, I would like to thank all the panelists for giving their time into this. Thanks a lot. And thank you, everyone. Panelists will be around for a few more minutes. So if you have any other questions, feel free to approach them off the stage. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Ravi.